Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another very big live update tonight. Going to have a little bit of fun at the end of it as well. It is going to be long. I'm just going to let you know it should be broken up into two. Obviously, Sunday's Father's Day, so a very special happy Father's Day out there to all the wonderful dads. So I've got to compress it into one. So let's get straight into it. First and foremost, there's been a number of media articles that have come out in the past week or so regarding various traffic cameras. And I wanted to share some of those with everyone tonight. Now, the first of those articles actually follows on from some that I read out a few weeks ago, where a number of cameras were being targeted in Tasmania in particular. And now the police have allegedly caught the person responsible. So this is the article for anyone who might be down in Tassie. It says, Tassie speed camera vigilante fined for moving mobile units. A Tasmanian man has taken the law into his own hands, disabling a speed camera to save the public from fines. Tasmanian man claims he took one for the team by disabling a portable speed camera, resulting in hefty fines. Pulse Tasmania reports 43-year-old Launceston local Nicholas Groom pleaded guilty to interfering with an offence detection device at the Launceston Magistrates Court on Monday. Mr. Groom was charged after he was caught tilting the lens of a mobile speed camera away from the road on February 7th, rendering the camera unable to detect speeding vehicles until it could be repositioned. Gee, what a heinous crime. Mr. Groom's explanation to police for moving the camera: he believed he was doing the public a service and saving them from fines. Accurate on one front perhaps, but Magistrate Ken Stanton disagreed with his vigilante philosophy. Ironically, it was the camera itself that captured Mr. Groom's offence, leading to a $900 fine. Tower-style speed cameras were introduced in Tasmania in 2022 and have since generated in excess of $10 million in fines revenue. Since August 2023, the same cameras have also been used to fine drivers for mobile phone and seatbelt related offences. So it seems to be a lot of money to make in a short period of time, and what difference has it actually made to the road toll? That would be the key question. So, was this guy wrongly fined? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But perhaps if he'd raised some of the privacy issues with those cameras that I've mentioned on some recent video updates, he might have had a better chance. In any event, there is no sign whatsoever that the state governments have any intention of curbing the rollout of these insidious revenue-raising devices. In fact, quite the opposite. They're now actually using them to issue even more fines, as this next article details. So anyone who's in the ACT or travelling to the ACT, please make sure you are aware of this. And of course, it's going to be similarly rolled out around the rest of the country in a very short time, I'm sure. So this one's entitled "Drivers Warned as Roadside Cameras Target New Road Rule from Today." From Tuesday, staff monitoring the entire road safety camera network in the ACT will now be checking vehicle registration, with those in breach formally warned. From Tuesday, staff monitoring the entire road camera network will now be checking vehicle registration among those caught in breach of an offence, including through speed cameras, mobile device detection cameras and red light cameras. Vehicle registration is a legal requirement and crucial for maintaining road safety. Really? How does vehicle registration affect road safety in any way, shape or form? People misguidedly think that, but it's your rego that goes to the roads. No, it doesn't. That's not the way it works at all. Without registration and insurance, the driver of the vehicle may be personally liable for any injuries caused to themselves and others, the ACT government said in a statement. Well, I think you'll find that even if the vehicle's unregistered and you have an accident, you're actually still covered. So again, a little bit of a twist on the truth there. Then there's a little subheading: unregistered and uninsured vehicles targeted. This means that should a camera detect a driver doing the wrong thing on the road and that driver was also travelling in an unregistered vehicle, they'll get stung for both infringements. If your vehicle's been unregistered for more than 12 months, it will require a roadworthy inspection. You'll also need to visit an Access Canberra service centre to register the vehicle, the government said. Key focus of infringements in the first few months will be for driving unregistered, with additional infringements for also driving uninsured to be implemented. Again, make sure you understand the distinction. Driving uninsured, yes, that is clearly an issue. Driving unregistered is actually incorrect. Your vehicle is always registered. Even if you write it off and have an accident, it is registered as a write-off. Now, I've covered this many times in the videos. The Aussie Speeding Fines guys covered in their books, so please make sure you understand that distinction. The announcement comes as roadside cameras around the country are fitted with enhanced technology to detect more offences than ever before, as authorities grapple with how best to manage the soaring level of fatalities on our roads. Soaring level of fatalities, but they still keep rolling out the cameras. Something doesn't quite add up. Roadside camera use, a controversial topic across the country. Across the country, speed mobile phone and seatbelt detection cameras have caused controversy in recent months, particularly over the many millions of dollars of revenues that they collectively generate. And again, that is all that they're about. It's all about the revenue. So here's the thing though. In that article, by their own admissions, the road toll is continuing to soar, okay, throughout most of the states. But rather than actually implement some of the genuine road safety initiatives that the Aussie Speeding Fines guys cover in their book, what do? They just choose to roll out more cameras, okay, and just issue more fines and make more money. So what's that definition of insanity again? Yes, doing the same thing again and again, but expecting a different result. Exactly what the state governments are doing. So clearly the people who are in government, especially those in charge of, road safety, are insane. I mean, that's very comforting to know, isn't it? I mean, it's nuts. So please, if you want to stop contributing to and supporting this kind of insanity, and in the meantime, of course, save your license and your hard-earned money, please make sure you grab a copy of that Aussie Speeding Fines book. Go to chapter 3 and make sure you use that tried, tested and proven 3-step process. Okay, that's the book. You'll find a link in the description. There should be a link going up in the comments section as well. Again, it has been tried, tested and proven to work over 17 years now. And if you want even more proof, people go, oh no, you guys make these things up, it doesn't really work, all this sort of stuff. Well, I've got some more proof to show you. Categorically, this absolutely does work. This is actually the latest testimonial or feedback from one of our members who received a seatbelt fine from one of these very same, insidious privacy breaching cameras. He used that 3-step process. He took the matter to court, and lo and behold, as you can see, notice of order made. Here's the details in the Broadmeadows Court. You can see it was just 22nd of August, so just 1 week ago, and there's all the details. Driver not wearing, what is it? Driver of vehicle failed to wear seatbelt. Court order dismissed. Okay, the stuff works, people, but you've got to follow the process. You've got to follow all the steps, and you've got to keep standing your ground. Okay, now the last article that I want to cover to do with all of these cameras is actually some brand new cameras that are being rolled out that nobody seems to know anything about. No one's taking any responsibility for, and no one's actually saying, oh yeah, they're ours and this is what they're for. So I urge you, have a look at this and keep an eye out in your own state and see if anything like this is happening. So this one is entitled, The Mysterious Roadside Camera Monitoring Drivers That No One Knows About. It warns drivers they're being watched, but not a single person across multiple government divisions seems to know a thing about it. A cryptic sign at a busy intersection warning motorists that cameras are monitoring their behaviour is causing confusion among local drivers. The sign, located at the intersection of Heathwood Drive and Hope Island Road at Oxenford on the Gold Coast, also has no apparent owner. Officials across multiple levels of government were unable to provide any clarity over it when asked by Yahoo News, with exactly where the recorded footage being sent is also unknown. Across the country, speed, mobile and seatbelt detection cameras have caused controversy in recent months, particularly over the many $1 million of revenue they collectively generate. In some jurisdictions, the rollout of portable road cameras has even been forced under review after multiple suspected arson attacks on the devices. Drivers have been coming forward in droves to report the inaccuracy of these cameras after being stung for hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars, many successfully fighting their cases in court. So again, here's further proof in the mainstream media that if you challenge these fines, you can beat them successfully. With so much contention surrounding the devices, an Aussie driver this week took to social media to question what exactly the mysterious camera was scanning for in Oxenford. Responding, Aussie shared a range of ideas, but most were puzzled. But nobody, it seems, has a definitive answer. And that goes for local and state authorities. When Yahoo News Australia questioned Queensland Police over the sign, nor did they. We also asked the City of Gold Coast Council, who similarly had no clue about who owned the sign. A spokesperson told Yahoo their best bet, we're just betting on these now, are we? Wonderful. Best bet would be Queensland Transport and Main Roads Department, TMR, given the fact the intersection is state-owned. However, they too had no answer. When contacted by Yahoo about the mystery camera, the TMR said they had nothing further to offer and suggested contacting the police again. So round and round in circles with no answers. And then it's got a little subheading, Australia's problem with dangerous driving. Authorities across the country are looking to crack down on bad and distracted driving. Road deaths in general have skyrocketed in Australia in the last 12 months, with 2023 crowned the deadliest in a decade. The deadliest year in a decade, and equally more fines than any other year as well. What do you know? In Western Australia, road fatalities are at an 8-year high. In Queensland, almost 200 people have been killed in accidents since the start of just this year. New South Wales has the worst hit when it comes to fatalities, recording a 23% increase in deaths year on year to 358 killed in 2024. The Northern Territory recorded a 108% jump in deaths, rising from 26 in 2023 to 54 in 2024. Australian Automotive Association Managing Director Michael Bradley said the stark figures showed the nation's existing approach to road trauma management was failing. These cameras do not work. This is clear and empirical evidence of that. I don't know how to make it any simpler. We need a data-driven response to a problem killing more than 100 people every month, he said. States and territories must report data they hold about the cause of crashes, the quality of roads, there's a good idea, and the effectiveness of policing so it can be used to produce more effective road safety interventions, not just this flash for cash system which they are intent on relying on because it makes them so much money. Okay? Now, here's the thing though, okay? As if the fact that the road toll constantly rising isn't bad enough, again, categorically proving that these cameras do not work as they claim they do. We've now got these new cameras that no one's got any idea about, recording people, and they're doing God only knows what with the data. Again, this is really not overly, comforting. And as we discussed on Tuesday night's radio show, the government then wonders why people go around criticising them. Seems pretty clear to me. Now, speaking of things not overly comforting, just when you thought COVID was over, all the focus was going to be on monkeypox, lo and behold, they're now trying to bring out 2 new COVID jabs right here in Australia. So, here is the article that I urge you all to please be aware of, especially after what's been coming out, in particular in the last 12 to 18 months. This article is entitled, Australians Could Get 2 New COVID Vaccines as New Strains Run Rampant. 2 new COVID vaccines could soon be eligible in Australia, with major pharmaceutical companies lodging applications with the TGA to protect against new strains of the virus. The new vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna will target the JN1 variant, first detected in Australia in late 2023. According to the most recent Australian Respiratory Surveillance Report, JN1 remains the dominant variant in Australia. The JN1 variants, which include the recent flirt mutation, is closely related to the KP2 and KP3 or flu QE mutations, so the new vaccines are expected to be able to protect against both. Pfizer's application is for people 6 months and older, while Moderna's vaccine has been created for those 12 and older. Both vaccines are under evaluation by the TGA and approval is not guaranteed. Thank the Lord for small mercies. Infectious disease physician Paul Griffin told SBS the vaccines would be a significant improvement on what is available at the moment with current vaccines designed for older variants. Even though the virus has continued to change, it by no means indicates that these vaccines are not effective. It just means with each iteration, efficacy does decline, relatively speaking, to a degree, he said. So what's he actually saying there? Do these old vaccines still work or do they not work? Are these new ones actually going to work better or not? I don't think he can make up his mind. According to the Royal College of General Practitioners, the new variants do not appear to cause more severe disease than other variants, but they are believed to be more transmissible than earlier variants of the virus. Well, if they're not more deadly and they're not more severe, then what's the problem? Why are we even talking about it and why are we rolling out more vaccines? I wonder why. Anyway, maybe someone out there's got some idea. I mean, really, look, so many comments to make, so little chance to make them without being censored by the good old fact checkers. But suffice to say this, okay, if people haven't woken up to the truth about COVID and those COVID jabs by now, look, I highly doubt that they ever will. But look, by all means, please, if you are brand new to these videos, if you can think of someone that needs to see this information, then please do be sure to share it around with others, and do please urge them to read all of the information on our COVID and vaccinations page. Again, there should be a link going up in the comments. Otherwise, if you're watching this on YouTube, just go to the Know Your Rights website, click on the COVID and vaccinations tab, and in particular, scroll down, you'll find a subheading there. The truth about COVID is starting to come out. That's what's got all the information that people need to be aware of. Now, speaking of those subheadings, given the media's push, particularly over the past few weeks, about this Mpox situation, we have actually created a brand new subheading on that same COVID and vaccinations page, and it is called The Truth About Monkeypox. Now, there is just one article up under that subheading now. We covered that in detail on Tuesday night's radio show, if anyone missed it, and I'll tell you what, it is a doozy, okay? It is so controversial that I can't even, hold it up and show you the title of the article on this video because it would immediately get censored. So please scroll down on the COVID and vaccinations page, look for that new subheading, The Truth About Monkeypox. Read that article, and I promise you, you will be glad you did because you'll be like, what the? So that's my tip for tonight. All right, so I'm going to finish off with something a little bit different tonight, and I'm going to warn everybody up front that I am going to be a little bit self-indulgent on this one tonight, and I'm going to have a little bit of fun at the system's expense, and hopefully you guys will have a little bit of fun along with me. So the final article that I want to cover tonight is the latest rubbish from the mainstream media about these, once again, so-called sovereign citizens. Now, as I've explained more times than I can possibly count on these videos, anyone who actually understands the proper meaning of those two words will realize that you just simply can't put them together. You cannot be a sovereign and a citizen at the same time. It makes no sense. Now, the reason I bring up this article I'm about to go through in particular, though, and the thing about it that was sort of most concerning was actually the author who wrote it. Now, the author in question is actually a guy by the name of Daniel Peters. Now, apart from his somewhat quirky explanation of himself, he says here that he's not embarrassed to admit that he's a TikTok addict, and he hates crossing either bridge, harbour or spit. So a little bit quirky there. But the thing is that he's actually written some other really good articles here. And in fact, as you can see there, the one that I've highlighted, that's the very same article that I read out on my last video, the one about Trump and RFK and Trump promising to bring out the JFK assassination files. So he's actually done some good work in the past. So it was sort of really a little bit strange to me, why someone who's a seemingly switched on author would write such a poorly researched researched article on a term that's actually an oxymoron. Now, look, we've all had bad days. We all make mistakes. I mean, I've said this many times before. I've made more than most people. I'm the first person to put my hand up and admit that. So, rather than, have a go at Daniel, what I'm going to try and do is, just to help him maybe see the error of his ways with regard to this particular article, and show him and all of you as well where you can actually find something far more entertaining than what he seems to think is funny, if that's the sort of thing that you're after. So this is the article, in case anyone's missed it. And I'm going to make a few comments as we go through. So it starts, the heading, of course, Sovereign Citizen Torn to Shreds by Council. A council worker has been praised for sending a brutal letter rubbishing a sovereign citizen's nonsensical attempt to escape paying rates. Now, I don't know how you can escape paying rates. That term just doesn't even make any sense. Now, I do want to make it crystal clear from the outset for everybody watching this video. You cannot not pay your rates. You cannot not pay your council rates at this point in time. There are processes and things that we're working on in the background, but right now that's not possible. So do keep that in mind as we go through this. A council worker has been praised for their ruthless takedown of a so-called sovereign citizen who tried to avoid paying rates using baseless pseudo-legal jargon. It's understood the New South Wales resident felt empowered to send a 6-page letter to their local council challenging their unpaid rates after joining a Telegram group for Freedom Folk. Now, again, anyone who's been to our live events, anyone who's studied any of our information would know that we do not in any way, shape or form ever recommend sending anything over, 1 page, 2 pages at most. 6 pages, you're obviously not understanding the process properly. But their letter was met with an unflinching response from a civil servant who systematically shot down every one of their nonsensical legal claims. A copy of the council workers' brutal response and the Telegram discussion that led to the failed attempt to escape paying overdue bills was shared on Twitter this week. The Telegram chat begins with the unnamed sovereign. They just don't understand, do they? Asking if anyone in the group had tried to get out of paying credit card using the Bills of Exchange Act. That will not work, people. You can't get out of paying a credit card by referring to the Bills of Exchange Act. You need to refer to the 4-step process in the Bank Secrets Revealed book. That is the process that will work, not the Bills of Exchange Act. So then there's a little subheading here about the council worker. Council workers' step-by-step destruction of sovereign citizen. The council worker begins by explaining that the sovereign's repeated biblical references hold no legal basis. Now, I have no idea what this 6-page letter contained. I haven't read it. But again, there's certainly no requirement for biblical references in an actual legal letter. Yes, the Bible is the ultimate law book. That is true, but you wouldn't be including biblical references in a legal letter challenging somebody. So again, I'm not sure what's going on there, and quite possibly the council worker may have been right to refute that. But then it goes on. The council worker then mocks the sovereign citizen for copying paragraphs from an outdated template likely found online. Page 2, you also refer to Her Most Gracious Majesty the Queen. I'm sorry to be the one to advise, but Her Majesty died on the 8th of September 2022. King Charles is the current monarch in Australia. Well, I hate to be the one that has to advise this poor council muppet, but unless he can provide legislation that shows that the council relies on for the imposition of rates or anything else that was enacted since September 2022, then that's completely irrelevant. Okay? The Queen has to enact in her name. Legislation must be enacted in the name of the Queen's Most Excellent Majesty. Now, anything to do with rates is almost certainly going to be pre-September 2022. So, yes, we all know that King Charles is the monarch now, but unless there's been some legislation that's somehow been enacted since he took power, which I'm not aware of, then his point's completely irrelevant. I'm afraid this is what happens when you copy things from the internet without reviewing them. Yes, Daniel, Mr. Author, shame on you. This is what happens when you copy things that you find on Telegram and Twitter without checking them first. Next, in the government employee's line of attack is the Sovereign's reference of an obscure case law about a dispute involving Queensland Rail and a major union. Page 2, you use a citation for High Court of Australia 11/2015 and then incorrectly use case law to extrapolate to a point that was never intentioned, they write. Well, if you actually bother to read the Queensland Rail case, you'll understand that the High Court determined what constitutes a trading corporation, which was exactly the point of that case. Okay, so maybe you should go and read it, Mr. Council Worker, because there's been no error made there at all. I'm completely unsure why you would use this to argue that you should not pay rates to your local council. Maybe because councils pursuant to that case are clearly defined as a trading corporation, and quite obviously corporations have no lawful power or authority to impose taxes. Maybe they're the dots you seem to be missing, Mr. Council Worker. Then there's this lovely subheading, Law Firm Drops the Hammer on Sovereigns. South Australian law firm Kelledy Jones shared a blog post last year to reassure council staffers that sovereigns had no legal standing to refuse to pay their rates, fines and interest. Now, you know what? I know King Charles is unwell at the moment, but I don't think he's that sick that he's going to be starting to, refuse to pay his rates or fines or interest. He's the only sovereign that there is. Okay, so I don't know why they keep talking about these sovereigns. There's no such thing. The firm said that there were 4 main arguments sovereign citizens fell back on, which they explained were indicative of a fundamental misunderstanding of the law. The common grounds are, number 1, the ratepayer has not entered into a contract with the council and has never agreed to sign any contract. Well, again, anyone who purchases a piece of land will know that you absolutely sign documents to say that you agree to pay the council rates as part of the settlement of that sale. So I don't know who's relying on that, but yes, that is actually correct. Number 2, the Corporations Act 2001 and the Bills of Exchange Act 1909 apply. I have no idea how the Bills of Exchange Act applies, but most assuredly the Corporations Act does indeed apply to all corporations. Pursuant to the Queensland Rail case, all local councils are indeed trading corporations, so 100% the Corporations Act would apply. Number 3, the rates notice is not legally binding, and number 4, rates are unlawful and illegal. Again, people seem to be confused about that. Rates most assuredly are legal and they are lawful, but they have to be imposed by representatives of the Crown. You see, rates, as we've covered before, are the rent that you have to pay on your property to the Crown. Therefore, the person that is asking you to pay your rates and is collecting those rates has to have authority from the Crown to do so, and that's the issue. Kelledy Jones said they'd seen a number of councils inundated with baseless correspondence demanding that a response be provided. The articulated reasons for not paying rates is without any legal basis. The imposition of council rates is lawful and legal. It accords with the legislative framework that provides the power as set out in the Local Government Act 1999. Now, amazingly, there was a referendum in 1988 where we, the people, were asked to vote on the question, do you allow for the establishment or continuance of a system of local government? And the majority of Australians said no. So please explain to me how they could validly and lawfully enact a Local Government Act of 1989 or 1999 or anything post 1988 when the question was asked at referendum and the people voted no. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe, absolutely, I'm sure they'll claim that it is pursuant to that legislation, but is that legislation valid law? That's the question people need to ask. Rates are a tax. Indeed they are. There is no ability to opt out of payment of a tax, and it is absurdity to suggest that it is a tax that is only payable on the basis of a pre-existing contract. Now, it's not quite that simple. Absolutely, there is no pre-existing contract. But again, it's who is requesting the rates payment and are they an authorised representative of the Crown? And then there's the final subheading, Deja Vu, Melbourne Council takes on Sovereign. It's not the first time an Aussie council worker has torn a conspiracy theorist to shreds. A City of Monash council employee went viral last year after a copy of their letter to a sovereign citizen who tried to appeal their $110 parking fine was leaked online. The driver who was caught parking in a loading zone brought the late Queen Elizabeth and the value of the Australian dollar into their baffling attempt to overrun the fine. Well, I think I've explained the relevance of Queen Elizabeth. I note that you're using a pro forma letter from an internet site, they wrote. So says the pro forma letter that they downloaded from their intranet site within their company. Amazing, isn't it? In perhaps the most sassy part of the letter, the worker wrote, "It also appears you are under the mistaken belief that council is somehow legally obligated to provide you with proof of claim within 28 days, or you will consider council to be bound by certain contractual obligations. As I indicated to you before, you appear to hold grave misconceptions of a variety of legal principles, and in this case, I must state in the strongest terms possible, you cannot legally bind council using such an ultimatum." Well, perhaps this Monash Council city employee, whoever he is, should look up the legal maxim, silence is deemed to be acquiescence, and look at the specific application of that legal maxim in the Golden Eagle Insurance Company versus Foremost Insurance Company case. I urge you all to look it up for yourselves. City of Monash CEO, what's a CEO? Chief Executive Officer. Dr. Andy Diamond congratulated their employee for their thorough response. Well, there's your proof that councils are corporations. He's the CEO. The Corporations Act applies to all corporations. Our officer took a factual legal approach in his responses, as he is required to do when assessing applications for review under the relevant legislation, and the letter reflects his attempt to answer all the questions and propositions that were put to him as part of the appeal to the infringement that was received. Now, here's the thing. Here are the actual requirements that they are supposed to go through for internal review that, of course, they never do. So, 4.1, lawfulness. Decisions made by internal review officers are administrative decisions and must be made within the boundaries of the law. That law includes the Commonwealth Constitution and, of course, the state constitutions that must comply with the Commonwealth Constitution. Therefore, Clause 2, the monarch, everything must fall under that correctly. All decisions are subject to review to ensure the decision complies with the relevant legislation. The aim of this principle is to ensure fair and efficient, effective and high quality decision making. Accountability in decision making. There's an idea. Do they ever put their name to the document that they've so-called reviewed? Never. Access for those affected by decisions to review mechanisms. And then it says 4.3, independence and impartiality. 4.3.1, independence. Internal review decision makers must act independently. This means the decision maker must make the decision in an environment that is free from inappropriate influences. In practical terms, no outsider should interfere or attempt to interfere with the way in which a decision maker makes their decision. This is a particularly important principle in cases where enforcement agencies may also find themselves contravening other legislative provisions that prohibit improper conduct and interference in administrative decision making. Now, again, we covered this on Tuesday. These people are members of the executive and they are trying to exercise judicial functions by imposing fines and penalties on people for past behaviour. That is a solely judicial function. Okay? Members of the executive cannot exercise those judicial functions. It finishes off with, she acknowledged that people found her staff members' response amusing, but added that this was not the intention of the letter, as they had just been doing their job. So, here is how we're going to finish up tonight. If you want to see a truly amusing legal response that rips Muppets apart who think that they know the law, but don't actually, okay, then please check out these letters that I'm about to go through. You'll find them at the very bottom of our fines page on the Know Your Rights site. Now, I'm not going to go through them all in detail. I know we're a little bit over time. As you can see, it is quite a raft of letters. I'm just going to highlight a couple of key points. So these started, as you can see, back in the 28th of February 2014. Now, again, I'm going to let everybody know I was perhaps a little bit more fired up and perhaps not quite as mature as I am now 10 years later. So I might have got a little bit worked up when I dealt with these, but just keep that in mind. So this, of course, is from the Care Park, that wonderful company. And this is what they've sent first, a tax invoice and final demand. And they're sending claims of legal fees. And then it was followed up on the 26th of February by their lawyers, Park Lawyers. So this is what Park Lawyers had to say. We've today received instructions from Care Park Limited to recover liquidated damages and legal costs owed to it arising from your breach of conditions of parking on the 9th of 6, 2013. Our instructions are that you've been issued with 2 previous reminders to pay but have neglected or refused to do so. We are instructed that you failed to comply with our client's contractual terms and conditions, the contract relating to the subject car park. It's our policy to afford a final opportunity to pay prior to issuing court proceedings. This is both as a matter of courtesy, oh, how nice, and to assist our client to recover legal costs against you in the event litigation becomes necessary. Kindly treat this letter as a final indication of our client's position. Our client looks forward to your payment within 10 days. Now again, remember, this is the 26th of February, 2014, and the other point to note is nobody bothered to put their name to this lovely legal letter. I mean, if this was coming from a law firm, shouldn't there be the name of the lawyer on the bottom of the letter? Alas not. So now we move to all the way, big jump, to the 1st of September 2024. And here we have the body of the letter. The sum of $165 remains unpaid, and therefore our client considers it has little alternative but to issue proceedings in the Magistrates Court of Victoria. It is clearly in your interest to avoid the possible expense of legal proceedings. Notwithstanding your failure to pay the payment notice after numerous demands, our client has indicated it's still willing to accept payment at this late juncture. Oh, how kind. This is a final notice. I'm sure I've read that somewhere before. If payment is not received within 7 days, a complaint may be filed in the Magistrates Court and served upon you without further notice. Again, no name. No one seems to want to put their name to these threatening letters. I can't understand why. So then I wrote back on September 11th. I'm concerned that, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but just some key points. I'm concerned that despite repeated correspondence to Care Park Proprietary Limited, you continue to waste our time with these ridiculous matters. Now, in light of the above information, and in light of your client's insistence on wasting our time, as well as valuable earth resources on these ridiculous letters, we now inform you that we will not be paying you or your client a single cent. A copy of this correspondence should be uploaded to various websites and Facebook groups to prove to people how easy it is to challenge any fine that's ever issued by your client, Care Park Proprietary Limited. Again, you'll find all these down near the bottom of our fines page on our website. Well, a little later, another lovely letter from Care Park with no name again at the bottom. The payment notices represent civil claims for liquidated damages. Our client is willing to accept your company's denial of vicarious liability for the actions of its employee or agent upon receipt of a statutory declaration from an authorised representative nominating the name and address of the alleged driver. So you never tell them who was driving. So I've done a little search at this point going, I wonder why they don't put their name to these letters. And lo and behold, who owns Park Lawyers? None other than Mr. Con Hellas. Please look this up. Send Con a lovely letter. Let him know that you've seen these. Dear Con, yes, it wasn't very hard to find out who you were, despite the fact that you insist on signing off as Park Lawyers. And yes, I know it's standard industry practice, but you really should read the High Court ruling in the matter of Halford v Price. I can certainly see why you wouldn't want to personally put your name to the latest piece of garbage, though. Seriously, what were you thinking? Anyhow, not that your correspondence of 18th of September 2014 even deserves a reply. I shall, however, take time out of my busy schedule to educate you. You can thank me later. And then I pointed out a couple of legal terms and all the rest of it for him, and I've said, I certainly appreciate your offer to reconsider my position regarding uploading copies of all correspondence to the internet, but as the 7 days afforded to you have now expired without the appropriate reply, I shall now do exactly as I said I would and upload those documents, which of course I have. Please let me know if you'd like me to provide you with the links to the various websites and Facebook groups that they've been uploaded to. So, Con writes back again, still doesn't put his name to anything. No surprises. Your inflammatory allegations impinging the writer's integrity is robustly rejected. We would have to give serious consideration to reporting you to the Legal Services Board for investigation if you proceed with publishing correspondence between the parties on the internet. Ooh, very scary. We also query the extent of your knowledge on the factual matrix if you or another agent of your company did not enter into a contract with our client. Your dramatic description of contract formation does not address the question of vicarious liability. It's getting a bit long in the tooth now. We're on to October, okay? And we're getting there, I promise you. So I now write, Dear Con, I write in relation to your latest misguided missive regarding your client Care Park Proprietary Limited and their illegal and void payment notices. Whilst I'm glad that you have finally dropped the baseless threats to take us to court, there are a number of other issues raised in your correspondence that clearly need addressing. I must say from the outset that I'm concerned that someone who's unable to comprehend basic legal principles, that would be you, is given a license to practice law, and yet someone like me who clearly understands law better than you, or at least in respect to this matter, is accused by you of engaging in legal practice without a license. I assure you that I would never stoop so low as to ever practice law. I don't practice things, I get them right. In any event, I'm sorry to hear that you feel I was impinging your integrity. Perhaps you would like me to impinge your English skills instead. Just so you know, it's your inflammatory allegations are robustly rejected, not is. Allegations is plural, is singular. You can thank me for the English lesson later and even make a donation if you feel so inclined. I am unsure as to why, despite me clearly identifying you in my previous letter, you still gutlessly refuse to put your name to any correspondence. Is that because you know that your correspondence is all predicated on a lie that you are not prepared to stand behind, and ultimately that you are personally liable for if you sign your name to it? I think I might be onto something there. Anyway, I wind up and I say the problem for you and your client now is that all of these documents are in the public domain. None of them were marked private and confidential or without prejudice. Oops. That might have been a more useful thing to try rather than unsuccessfully suppressing your name and hiding behind your law firm. Finally, I really do not know whether to laugh or cry at this point. Your reference to vicarious liability is once again, and not surprisingly to readers who've made it this far, completely irrelevant. Sadly, I note that this correspondence must now come to an end because I know that not even you, Con, would be stupid enough to reply to this letter. Because if you did, the resultant hole that you would dig for yourself and your law firm and Care Park Limited would be simply unmanageable. To be fair, it has been entertaining, and as such I would like to offer you a way out while you still have some personal dignity left, and whilst your client Care Park Proprietary Limited has some semblance of a business remaining. There's a thought. What if Care Park Proprietary Limited got wind of these letters that I'm sure you're charging them to write and realised that your belligerence and stubbornness cost them their business? Maybe they could sue you. Now that would be an interesting case. In any event, if within 14 days you provide me with an unreserved apology for your ridiculous correspondence to date and confirm in writing that no further action should be taken in respect of the matter, then I shall agree to remove the documents that you have so far uploaded to the internet and shall agree not to upload future documents. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Lo and behold, no response was ever received from that point on. So, there's a bit of fun as we finish up tonight. And again, if you would like to read the full trail of those letters back and forth between myself and good old Park lawyers, my bad, you will find a link at the bottom of our fines page. And again, you should find that going up in the comment section. All right, so the last thing, of course, before I finish up tonight is to remind everyone about our live events in Perth. Again, there'll be a link going up in the comment section. They are on the 13th, 14th and 15th of September, so just 2 weeks away now. And again, please don't forget to take advantage of our very special sale on the home study courses. That's that 20% off sale on all of the home study courses. Again, a reminder that must end at midnight tonight. So again, you'll find a link in the description. You'll find a link in the comments. That also applies to all of the related combo packs and other products like our Ultimate Pack, which has all of the physical products that we have as well. Again, it's 20% off on all of those. No codes, nothing. Just look for the little sale sign. You'll find these on the 4th shop page. So if you just go to our website, go to the products tab, there's a little drop down, click shop, go to the 4th page and you'll see all the little ones with the sale sign, and they are the ones you can take advantage of. Again, that must finish at midnight tonight though, so do take advantage of that, and then they will all be sent out to you via express post first thing tomorrow. All right, so finally, as I always do very quickly, I'm going to finish off with the latest memes to get people thinking. This one, I'm sure many of you can probably relate to, especially with what's going on at the moment. And it says, I don't know about you, but I've thought about running away more as an adult than I ever did as a child. Yes, the memes. Why do we do these memes at the end of each video? As it says, the purpose of a meme is to disturb the humorless and to humor the disturbed. So hopefully everyone's had a bit of fun with those. Yes, this one, I like this one. When someone walks up talking about global conspiracies and the New World Order. Yes, go on, let's talk. So hopefully you've all managed to find some like-minded people over the past few years. Now, with these new COVID jabs potentially coming in, with this, advent of this new monkeypox clade, please keep this in mind. As it says, it is my duty as a parent to research and question everything for the sake of my children, not blindly trust. Doctors are not the authority. Teachers are not the authority. The government is not the authority. I am. You are that authority for your children. So please exercise that authority wisely and strongly. And then just finally, I'm going to leave this one because this is so true and so important that people need to get their head around. So it says, the left says corrupt billionaires are the problem. The right says corrupt government is the problem. And I'm just here like, you do realise that it's the corrupt billionaires that are running the corrupt governments, right? Okay, it is so obvious now that, I don't understand how there's anyone left out there that still doesn't see it. So I'm going to leave things there for tonight. As always, I do urge you to make use of all the resources that are available to you to please get informed, get fired up, get proactive, and by all means access things like those letters and have a little bit of fun along the way as well. As always, these videos are completely free to watch. You'll find them on the videos tab on our Facebook page. You'll find them on our YouTube channel and of course on our BitChute channel as well. Our radio shows every second week. There's no live radio show next week, but we will be replaying a previous one. All of our podcasts are up online now, including Tuesday night's radio show. Remember, it costs less than $5 a week to join up as a podcast member. You get access to the fully edited podcast, all the show notes, and even the transcripts for those as well. Again, the transcript was just uploaded today as well, so a lot of people like to go through those. If you want to go above and beyond that, as I always say, do be sure, please, to make sure you get a copy of our book, The Essential Step-by-Step Manual for Understanding and Exercising Your Rights. That vitally important Aussie speeding fines book for challenging all manner of unjust and unlawful fines. And as I mentioned earlier on, that Bank Secrets Revealed book for that tried, tested and proven 4-step process for discharging, eliminating any unsecured loans. That's your personal loans, your credit cards. You can't rely on this Bills of Exchange Act. You need to rely on that 4-step process. Again, you can get these individually. There's links in the description. You can get them all together as part of the combo pack. You do get the tote bag thrown in as a little bonus as well. And of course, finally, don't forget, we do have all of our Know Your Rights caps and beanies available, so do grab those as well. People see the logo, they come up, have a chat. Great way to meet like-minded people. So I'm going to leave things there. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Again, a very special shout out and happy Father's Day to all the dads, all the fathers out there. And we will be back next Thursday with our next live video update. Until then, take care.